Okay, yeah, so good evening. I am joined tonight for this presentation by my colleagues from the athlete development staff at the OVA. Angie Shen, who's our senior beach development coach. Hello, Angie. And also Lauren Bretner, who's our athlete development lead. If you have been around in the TMO programs before, you have for sure talked to either Angie or Lauren at some point. We will be splitting the presentation tonight in the different topics. So just as usual, for our town halls, we will be answering all of the questions at the end. Put your questions in the chat, please, and one of us will be monitoring the chat for the questions. We may be answering some as they come, and if we don't get to your question right away, we will get to it at the end for sure. Okay, so we really want to make sure that everybody's got answers to your questions. That's why we have these sessions these days. Okay, so Lauren, are you able to get us started with the PowerPoint, please? Fantastic. Okay. So yeah, we're going to talk about Team Ontario in 2022, what that looks like. We're going to cover a little bit of our context, talk a bit about the pathway and some of the changes that we're making this year, and then go a little bit more in details into each of the programs that we're going to have in 2022, both beach and indoor and integrated. We're going to touch on player identification at the end of the presentation. So yeah, TMO is back. It will be back in 2022. That's what we said last year. And for the most part, we were wrong, but this was because there was a lot of things that were not in our control. But we feel very good about where we're at and how things are moving forward, that we'll be able to bring all of our programming back. It's pretty crazy to think that our last overnight Team Ontario camp was held in July of 2019, over 2 years ago. And by the time we have another one in the summer of next year, it will have been 3 years. So you can be certain that our staff is prepared and ready to go, and that next summer is going to be our best summer yet for Team Ontario. So we are going to bring all of our camps back. We'll talk about them. We will improve upon our indoor and beach programs to meet the needs of the athletes, and there will be more opportunities for more athletes to train for more days. So it's going to be a great summer that we're really stoked to be working on right now. So let's get into it. I don't want to make any assumptions here, but because of this big delay and athletes that were 14 2 years ago, and missed kind of 2 years of Team Ontario, and now are 16, 17, we haven't necessarily had a chance to talk about Team Ontario and what it is and what we do. So I assume that a lot of you are new to the Team Ontario programs. So I want to make sure that we all have an understanding of what our programs are all about. So let's start with our Team Ontario mission. And this is tied to our OVA strategic objective around high performance. And that strategic objective is to produce athletes and coaches who will represent Canada internationally and reach the Olympic podium while creating a system of best practices for the entire OVA community. Okay, so it says it all. We are there to, provide an environment that will help, a few athletes make it all the way to the top and hopefully reach that level of the Olympics. That is ultimately our goal. But we know that obviously we're talking about 1 or 2 people. It's not a lot at the end of the day. But around these people, there's going to be a lot of athletes that will benefit a ton from the exposure to this kind of environment where we are, looking after the holistic development of the athletes. And at the end of the day, as we're having all these athletes in the gym and all the coaches as well and working all together to get better, we know that gets reflected in our whole OVA community, and it raises the level of everybody in the province. And so that's how we approach our programs. And this is always a focus of ours when planning everything, working with our coaches to prepare the programs that your children will have access to. All right. So we'll move on to the next slide. We can probably skip over it, but there's a nice little graph here with the Olympic rings to put us in the mood, I guess. I wonder, though, how many people here are parents of kids who did get inspired this past summer when possibly watching some volleyball at the Olympics. This ignition, right? This inspiration that we get when watching the Olympics and stuff like that. That's a great motivation for our young children to get into sport and to try to be the best they can be. And we really want through our programs to make sure that kids will get as good as they can in terms of volleyball, but that they will also learn a bunch of skills that will make them better people at the end of the day. So yeah, something that we always keep in mind as well in our programs. So we'll talk about the pathway. Oh, I didn't know this guy did that. That was awesome. Big spike. Okay, so I just wanted to, again, for those who may not be familiar with our pathway, and Lauren, I don't know if you can move your mouse to kind of like refer to some of the sections and programs I'm going to talk about, but what you see there as grassroots is obviously all the house leagues program where players would start, and then you can see that on the left and right in orange, players start to play club and school volleyball as they get older. And as they enter the OVA, they have opportunities to get into our athlete development pathway. And for us, this starts with our Team Ontario regional program, a large program with lots of players for 14U age athletes. And following that, we go on to programs that such as Team Ontario White and Tall Maples. Okay, and those two steps, so the green steps and the white steps there, those are two steps that are integrated beach and indoor volleyball. Okay, so we make sure that athletes at that stage get to try a little bit of both, so they are better equipped to make a decision later on as to what discipline they want to pursue in terms of high performance sport. Okay, so that's why you can see that after that Team Ontario White program, the pyramid starts to split between beach and indoor. And so following Team Ontario White, we have our Team Ontario Red program. That's followed by our Team Ontario Black programs. And usually this is where most of our summer programs kind of end, except on the beach. We do have a full-time training group that keeps going as athletes get a little bit older. So we have a senior full-time training group there for athletes older than 18U. And we also have our Team Ontario Elite program on the indoor side, which we'll talk about a bit later. And that's a program that's also for our athletes that are actually 18U in the OVA. And then after that, hopefully, we've done a good job, and we have a bunch of players who graduate from our Team Ontario programs to the national team programs. Okay, so that's the pathway, and the important thing to understand here is that athletes can go in and out at any point here. You don't have to enter at the TORP. Okay, so the regional program at the green level down there, in order to make it all the way to the top. Our identification process is designed in a way that allows athletes to enter the pathway at any stage. All right, and so if you're there and you're worried that your child has missed out on some programs in the last couple of years, don't worry. There's athletes coming in and out at any point. And we regularly see athletes who join our programs at the Team Ontario Black level and still make it to university and even national team. And some players don't even enter our pathway at all, and they end up once they've reached university, they end up getting to the national team and stuff like that. These stories happen and they exist. But we wanted to make sure that we presented this to you so you have a little idea of how things are set up. So Following this, now that we have an understanding of the pathway, I wanted to talk about what it's going to look like next year. And this is important because we want to be kind of we want to be transparent about how we're planning for next summer and the reasons why, right? So at the top right here, you can see that on a regular year, our pathway goes something like Team Ontario Regional Program, Teamo White, Teamo Red, and Teamo Black, okay? And this year, we are actually going to skip the Teamo White program, right? And this is because we want to set up our programs in a way where more athletes will get to train for more days, okay? And you're going to ask, well, how is that possible? How do you have more athletes if you have less programs? Well, you're in luck, because I'm going to answer that question just right now. So Lauren, can you click any button, please? Okay, so right there, you see the number of players that we typically take for each of these programs, okay? So 200 for Teamo Regional, 64 for Teamo White, 108 for Teamo Red, and 28 players for Teamo Black. Okay, so those are numbers for both genders combined, right? Boys and girls. So as you can tell, there's a progression here that ends with our Teamo Black program having a very few number of athletes. Okay, so 14 players per gender, very focused team, only a few athletes training in this program in the summer. All right. Can you click again, Lauren, please? Now this year, what we want to do is actually, because we're removing the Teamo White program, we're keeping the Teamo Red program similar, okay, in terms of this high performance center with lots of players, but we're creating the same type of program that existed before for Teamo Red for the Teamo Black level, okay? So now instead of only 28 players training at the Teamo Black level, we'll have the same number of players that train at the Teamo Red level. So you can probably imagine here that the players get kind of shifted down the pathway right now for this coming year for our indoor pathways, to fit these Teamo Red and Teamo Black programs. Now, the reason why we're doing this is that the athletes who are typically Teamo Black are normally 17 new athletes. This coming year, these athletes are going to be our 2005s. Okay, so kids born in 2005. Typically next year will be our Teamo Black athletes. And these are athletes who this past summer missed out on Teamo Red, and the summer before missed out on Teamo White. These athletes were probably at the Team Ontario regional programs, at least some of them, in 2019. And now they haven't done any training for the past couple of years. And they're getting to that age where, if we ran our Teamo Black program the way we done it in the past, we would only select a handful of them. Okay, can you click again, Lauren, twice, please? So, and that's because normally, yes, we do have 28 players at the Teamo Black level, but that usually only amounts to about 18 players in the 17U age group. And the reason why is that although the Teamo Black program is meant for 17U skill level athletes, we often have younger athletes who are at that skill level. So as part of Teamo Black, we will have a number of 16U athletes that are good enough that get selected there. So really the number of spots that are reserved for 17U athletes is fairly small on the regular year as part of our pyramid. Now, if you click again, Lauren, I'm going to have, oh, can you click again? Okay, oh, one less. There you go. So if we look at this now, what we're really doing next year is that we're going to keep about the same number of athletes from the 14U, 15U, 16U age groups in the pathway, but we'll have a few more 17U athletes that will have an opportunity to train. And the other difference, and we'll get into it when we speak about the programs themselves, but those two Teamo Red and Teamo Black programs are going to be much longer than what they've been in the past. And all the players in them will access the entire length of the program. okay? And so this is how we're going to provide more training for more athletes for indoor Team Ontario in the summer of 2022. Now we'll get to it. For those of you who are here for Canada Games, don't worry, it's coming. It just was not relevant to this part of the presentation, but we're still running that program, okay? Now let's talk about beach for a second. And the situation with beach is similar. If you look at the top here, normally what we've done in the past is we've had a group of athletes in which we had full-time training athletes and camp-based athletes, because perhaps they were not able to get to Toronto for full-time training. But when we've done a camp, an overnight camp, and brought all the athletes together, we combined them, and then we would split them back. And what happened is that, you know, we were limiting the number of players that we were working with because we treated them kind of as this group that overlapped. Well, in 2022, we're going to create more opportunities for athletes by splitting those groups. And we'll have a full-time training group that will be on its own at that level of commitment. They will do their thing. They will have their own camps, and they will do their program. And we will have a separate program for Team Ontario camp-based athletes that will be just as good, but over a different schedule that will fit their needs. And by doing that, we will actually be able to create more opportunities for more athletes to train. All right. So I wanted to cover those two things for indoor and beach, just to show how we're, you know, dealing with the context that we were given, and that we're trying to, you know, make it up if we can, even though it's not our fault, but, you know, make it up to those athletes who may have missed out on opportunities in the past couple of years. Okay. And so we're really excited, because this means that we'll get very busy, but that a lot of athletes will get a chance to experience some awesome programs in the summer of 2022. So we're going to get into the specific programs. And I'm not going to talk about the regional program tonight because we haven't finalized all of the details. We still need to work with our regional partners in order to determine exactly how things are going to work. So there will be a full-on, you know, standalone session about the regional program, and that's going to come at some point early January 2022. So if you are a parent of a 14U athlete, so an athlete born in 2008, you know, make sure you stay tuned for the information about that town hall, because that's where all the information for this program is going to happen. We will touch base on this when Lauren talks about the ID process later. The only thing I would say to you, if you are a parent of a 14U athlete, is, you know, I want you to know that your child will need some video, because it's going to be part of the ID process for all programs this year. So, you know, if you have chances to get a video of your child playing in a competition, tournament, in a practice in the next month or so, it wouldn't be a bad idea to start getting some of that footage. Okay, so I didn't want to necessarily just wait until January to mention that. So here it is, but we'll talk about the full details in January. Okay. Let's talk about Team Ontario, Tall Maples, actually. Tall Maples. We haven't mentioned this program very much so far. We said it existed in the pathway slide earlier. But this program is actually one of, I believe, the coolest programs that we offer. We see a lot of transition or progression, I guess, from players who started at this level of the Tall Maples program and ended up on our Team Ontario League program, or even Team Ontario Beach full-time training group program. Yeah. Okay, so there's a nice transfer for these athletes. And this program is specifically geared towards athletes with above average physical attributes. In other words, tall athletes. Volleyball is a sport in which being physical really helps. When we compare Ontario to other provinces, we don't often have the biggest players. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But when we compare to other countries, that's where sometimes we we suffer. We get very strong and athletic in Canada. We develop some strong athletes, but at the next level, height really helps. And so this program identifies some tall athletes and offers a program that covers both indoor and beach, and also is designed in a way to meet the needs of those tall athletes. And so what will happen is that selection will happen for the other programs, and there's obviously a physical component to the other programs, but the skill component is also very important to the other programs. And so what will happen is that there will be a lot of tall athletes selected to the other programs, but then sometimes kids that have developed really fast, that grew a lot, really quickly, that may not have caught up to their height in terms of coordination and agility. Those are often the players that we get in this Tall Maples program. Work with them, work to meet their specific needs, and help them gain some confidence as players on the court, and then so that they can develop their skills as they go back to their clubs and come back later and join the Team Ontario program. So athletes are between 13 and 16 in this program. And I didn't write it there, but typically we're looking at boys 6'3" and taller, and girls usually about 5'11" and taller as well, just as a reference. Okay. So this program will happen again this this next summer, and we'll tell you how you can apply for this later, if that's of interest to you. Okay. Team Ontario Red and Black. So what is it going to look like this year? It's going to be a bit different than 3 years ago. So it will consist in the traditional 7-day training camp. Okay, so we've always had a 7-day training camp for our Timo Red program. The difference this year is that it will be followed by a 5-day competition that everyone will take part in. So everyone will be there for 12 days. So before, everyone was there for 7 days, and a few players would stay for an extra week to go to a competition. This year, in 2022, everybody stays for 12 days. Okay, the 60 girls and about 48 boys per program. Okay, so this will happen for both Timo Red and Timo Black. Same process. All training will happen in July. The dates and locations are to be determined. We're working out the schedule right now with our possible partners and venues. Okay, but it will happen in July. We have too much going on in August to make them happen there. So if it helps you with planning for your summer, or, time off or whatever, you can plan around that. Okay. So everyone there for 12 days, and really the training that's going to happen over the 7 days is going to be there to teach athletes about the Team Ontario culture and technical identity, the Team Ontario principles of play, all of that stuff. We're working on improving their skills, technical, tactical, and all that stuff. And then for the second portion of that camp, for that 5-day competition, we get into our Team Ontario Cup, which is on the next slide. And this is something that we're really excited about for this year, because it's going to give everybody, not just athletes, but also all of our coaches, a chance to stick around for an extra 5 days and be in a very high level competition setting. Everybody will get a chance to play in this awesome competition. There will be fully officiated matches, best of 5 matches, matches that will be live streamed. This is a competition that is going to be designed around the Team Ontario systems and principles of play. So daily, athletes and coaches will go through a match recap and some video analysis with some of our Team Ontario lead coaches to see how they did in terms of implementing the stuff they worked on over the first 7 days. And there will be some challenges and some instructions on how to play for the coming match that day. And this will happen daily, so that our competition doesn't just serve the purpose of playing to play and hopefully win a medal, but so that there's also some development happening for all players throughout the competition. All right. So this is how we're delivering maximum value for all of the athletes there that will participate in this program. There will be a lot of other stuff, some off-court competition. We're going to have some coaches and staff working on creating some really fun, creative little matchups and competitions around the main competition that will make it fun for the athletes. We'll have a Team Ontario banquet, a barbecue, depending on what we're able to set up where we are. But we will have a lot of cool features around this competition that will make it a very memorable moment for everyone involved. So both Team Ontario Red and Black will work like that. Now, in terms of our Canada Summer Games indoor program, this is a program that we didn't mention before, but that still is happening. This is a program that was delayed 1 year. The Canada Games were supposed to happen last year in 2021, actually this year, but last summer in 2021. And the Canada Games in Volleyball Canada have decided to stick with the same age group. So the players that would have been eligible this year would have been the 18Us from last year, but they decided to, so the athletes born in 2003, and it was decided that the same players were going to be eligible in 2022 for the Canada Summer Games. So we're still talking about athletes born in 2003 or later. Those athletes are eligible for the Canada Games, and that program is going to be a more intensive program. It will include 2 blocks of training. This is still to be determined, but the schedule you kind of see on the screen here is kind of what we have in mind. We just need to confirm with our venues what's available. So the number of days before and after the competition may vary, but it will likely look like 1 block of training earlier mid-July, followed by the Canada Cup in Calgary, which is a tournament that will be set up for all provinces to send their Canada Games teams. A little bit of time off, not too long, but just enough to recover. And then another block of training that will lead right into the Canada Games in August of 2022, right here in Niagara. Okay. So if you're not part of the program, you can already plan on coming to watch Team Ontario beat up the other provinces. Let's just put it that way. I was just thinking, what if Jay or Scott are watching this? It's going to pump them up. But I'm saying it anyways. We're going to be ready, and we're going to do very well at this competition. I'm really excited for that to happen. So that's pretty much it for indoor for this next summer. The only other thing that we wanted to mention was that every September we start our Team Ontario Elite program. This is, like I said earlier, for 18U athletes. So right now we are running our Team Ontario Elite program. We have a camp this coming weekend, and the athletes in this program are our current 18U athletes. So next year we'll be back with this program, but we wanted to mention that the athletes that will be part of this program will be selected as part of the Team Ontario Black program from next summer. Okay, so if Team Ontario Elite is something you've had your eyes on for a while, because of the awesome training that we get there, and especially the international training camp that happens during the March break, well, make sure that you sign up. Make sure that you do everything you can to be selected for this Team Black program next summer, because that will be the pool of athletes that we pick the Team Ontario Elite squad from for 2022 and 2023. Okay. Lots of information, I know, but if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I know some are coming in. Keep asking your questions. We'll answer them a bit later. For now, I'd like to pass it on to Angie so that we can cover all of our beach programs for next summer.
Thanks, LP. And hi, everybody. So the beach programs, as LP said, the main change for as we move forward is that we'll do a much better job of being able to service the athletes who are camps-based, athletes who are outside of the GTA area. What's awesome is, I think with the past programs that we've had in the beach tour, we've got more and more athletes playing beach, and I think it's the right thing to do. So we've got our camp-based program. We'll have our full-time training group that trains regularly in Toronto at Ashbridges. And of course, this year we've got the Canada Summer Games program. Lauren, if you wouldn't mind moving forward. So the camp space program, as LP said, we're going to take much more athletes than we have in the past and really cater that to the needs of those athletes. We'll have 1 week-long camp that will actually do a joint camp with the full-time training group athletes. But then after that, we'll split off and we'll have 2 other camps, pre-provincials, and coaches will support athletes at provincials. A camp pre-nationals where coaches will support there. As far as leading up during the season, we'll stay connected. We'll have TMO coaches staying connected with the athletes. And I think the main objective, I would say, is to support the athletes in managing their season independently. Coaches will be there to mentor throughout as they train within their own environment, whether that be, them managing their own practices or they're joining a program that's closer to them. We'll have the athletes staying connected to an integrated support team with an S&C program at the camps. We'll make sure, our sports dietitian is there at mental performance. But again, the main thing is we'll do a much better job of making sure that the camp space athletes are getting support in the way that matches what they need. If you could move on, Lauren. So the full-time training group is a group that we have that's training in Toronto. We train 3 to 4 times a week on court. In the evenings in June after school. The mornings it moves to the mornings in July and August. This program is very closely connected to an integrated support team through the CSIO. This is the Canadian Sport Institute of Ontario. So we'll have an S&C coach working with the athletes. As well, again, having a sports dietitian. And the objective of this program is really to support athletes in managing their daily training habits. So, one of the main purposes for our programming is really, it's about habits. Absolutely, coaching athletes and, bettering their skills. But I think it's supporting athletes in their decision-making and their habits that will make a real difference. Okay, Lauren, you can move on. So Canada Summer Games, the way that we're going to do our selection for Canada Summer Games is going to be by trial. So that means it's a tournament. The reason that we do it by trials is because that's what beach athletes will end up doing down the pathway. So for athletes who, for example, they're going to World Championships, under 19, under 20 World Championships, it is playing a trial. So it's playing a tournament to win to go. And doing it by trials allows athletes to have the opportunity to practice this meaningful competition, and just to provide more of that opportunity to practice under pressure or performance under pressure. As far as the plan goes, what is in mind is, there's a little bit of a wait. What's in mind is we need to know what type of competitions will be happening. It would be great to have Canada Games coaches working with the Canada Games team. Maybe if we head out to Quebec, head out to, the USA, California, that's what's in mind. But of course, right now, as the world is opening up, we're just kind of waiting for that information. So, but this plan will definitely be developed together with the athletes. That's the main gist of the program, though. That might be it for me. Yeah. On to you, Lauren.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Angie. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be talking about the athlete ID process for this summer and how athletes who wish to be identified for TMO Beach and Indoor, the process to do that. So before I get into the details, I just wanted to cover some important dates for our ID process this year. So we'll actually be going live with our 2022 virtual ID process on Monday, December 6th. Athletes will have until February 20th, which is a Sunday, to apply to be identified for Team Ontario through our virtual process, which I'll explain just after this slide here. Direct selections to Team Ontario red programs, black program, and tall maples will be made following Ontario Championships, will be the beginning of May. And some additional ID steps to be aware of is the Canada Games indoor program will actually go through a tryout process. So a select group of athletes will be invited to attend a tryout during the May 7th and 8th weekend. And following that tryout, the roster will be selected for the Canada Summer Games program. And the selections for the Team Ontario Beach program will be made the weekend following indoor nationals. So another May date in there for you. And I'm really making you wait for the ID information here, but I know LP covered this briefly, but I just want to bring some other important information to your attention. So all athletes, no matter which program they wish to participate in or be identified for, should start taking videos of their scrimmages, their games that they can now until that February deadline date. They'll be required to submit videos in their application. So it would be best to begin gathering that footage now. And additionally, families and athletes can be on the lookout for Team Ontario or Volleyball Canada, physical testing events. The physical testing results from these events will come in handy when applying to be identified for Team Ontario. They'll need those results in their application process. So without further ado, our ID process this year, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be having a virtual process this year. So everything will be online, and we are using the platform called GMTM. This is aligned with Volleyball Canada. They've been using GMTM for a couple of their national team identification events in the past year. So some of you might already have an account with GMTM, which is great, and we can cover that in a little bit. But basically, GMTM is a website used by sport organizations to host virtual combines, tryouts, recruitment events, that sort of thing. And the way it works is that organizations create these events, and then athletes then register directly to the event and participate in it online. So the way it will work for our process is we have 3 different events, and athletes will choose which one to participate in based on their birth year. So this year, athletes will register for their event to be identified for the Team Ontario High Performance Pathway. And following the registration deadline, Team Ontario coaches will place athletes into the programs where their skills are best suited. So I'll say that again, athletes will apply to the event based on their birth year, which I'll show you now. And we'll then place them on teams or programs that are that their skills, are best suited for. So to review GMTM, some of you might already have this an account with GMTM, which is great. But if you do not, athletes can create a free account on gmtm.com. And once you kind of go to that website, on the top right-hand corner, there's a black box that says sign up. So athletes can choose to sign up using a Twitter account, an email address, or a phone number. I recommend using the athlete's personal email to create their account with. And the process of creating an account takes about 5 minutes. It's a very straightforward process. And once an athlete has completed their profile, they will be able to register for a Team Ontario identification event. So the great thing about this GMTM profile is that you can use your profile to showcase and promote yourself as an athlete. So for an example, I'm just going to stop sharing here quickly. I've created a fake account as an athlete for you to see what it will look like to register. So I'm just going to load this. All right, perfect. Great. So this is my fake athlete account. So this would be my main profile that would pop up as soon as you log in and create your account. So as you can see here, this is kind of your hub, I guess you could say, for everything about you. So this is me here. I've created a profile picture for myself. You can add any social accounts you want coaches to see. You can have contact information on the side here. This spot here is the place where you can add an introduction video. I have an introduction blurb about myself here for people to get to know me when they come to my profile, my career as a volleyball athlete, some stats here as well. I touch very high, and some highlight videos. So the great thing about this account also is you can choose the visibility of it. So let's say I want to add my my block touch. You would choose block touch. And would you look at that? I'm also at 1,000 centimeters for block touch as well. But for your visibility, this can be public, in which case anybody who has a GMTM account or not can see this information if they search you through this database. Or you can select one of the other two visibility options for coaches only. And this one means that only coaches that are members of GMTM can see the information. And private means that only you can see the information as well. So there are some options here depending on what you feel comfortable with sharing. But I think this is a really great benefit of the program. So basically how it would work if you want to share this profile with a university coach or any other coach for that matter, you would take this link at the top that is specific to your name. Obviously, you can copy it and send it to someone else, and they would see the information on here depending on the visibility of your account. So right now, everything on my account is public. And if I applied for any events like our Team Ontario identification process, that would come up here as well. So it's really unique, and I had a lot of fun just even making this fake account of myself. So it's a really good chance for you to get creative and make this account your own, or not if you choose to do that as well. So our events are not live yet. As we mentioned, they will be live on Monday, December 6th. However, once you create an account and on Monday want to register, in this search GMTM, you would type in Ontario Volleyball Association. That's not how you spell that. But anyways, it would come up all of our events here. There's no results, as I mentioned now. But I can see our events. So I'm just going to flip over to those right now. Perfect. So we've created 3 identification events on GMTM based on birth year, as I mentioned before. So these 3 events are for 2008 athletes, 2005, 2006, 2007 athletes, and lastly, 2003 and 2004 athletes. So athletes, again, choose the event they are applying for based on their birth year. So, and the great news about our events is that athletes interested in Team Ontario Beach, Team Ontario Indoor, or both Team Ontario Beach and Indoor apply for the same event. So for example, if I'm an athlete born in 2006 and I'm interested in being identified for Team O Beach, camp-based programs, and Team Ontario Indoor programs, I will participate in this event right here. The 2005, 2006, and 2007 Team Ontario identification event, and not any of the others. So athletes will only choose one. So there's a potential of 5 activities that athletes will need to complete to be identified in each of these events. So let's say I am the 2006 athlete. I will click on participate in that event. Oh, computer's loading. Here we go. And as you can see, it takes me to the main page of the event. So scrolling down, there are 5 different activities to participate in and to finish my application to be identified. So the 5 activities are athlete information, athlete introduction video, indoor athlete videos, beach athlete videos, and physical testing. So in the athlete information activity, athletes will need to fill out some basic questions about themselves, which team they play for, their parent contact information, what position you play, and other similar questions will be included in this activity here. Oh, sorry, that's this activity. In the introduction video, if you applied for a Team Ontario program last summer, you'd be familiar with the introduction video. So there's a description in here. As you can see, it trails off a little bit, but this has all the information on what you will need to include in the introduction video. It won't be that long, and this is just a chance for our Team Ontario coaches to get to know you a little bit better. And so now we move on to the actual video sections. So notice that this activity says indoor in caps, and this one says beach in caps. So, well, athletes who are interested in being identified only for Team Ontario indoor programs, they will participate in this activity. Athletes interested in participating in only Team Ontario beach programs will only fill out this video section and leave this one blank. However, if athletes are interested in being identified for both Team Ontario beach and Team Ontario indoor, they will complete both of these activities. So for the indoor videos, athletes will upload a highlight video and some game footage. Again, all the descriptions that need to be included are in this actual activity when it does open up. So you'll have some guidance there. And for the beach videos, athletes will upload a movement video and a beach highlight video if the athlete has access to beach footage. And like I mentioned before, all of the specific instructions on what to include in each video will be listed in these activities. So you'll have some guidance with that. And the last activity that athletes will need to complete is the physical testing activity. So athletes will be required to input their own physical testing results on GMTM in this activity here. And we will be asking for height, standing reach, wingspan, spike touch, and block touch. And if you have access to that information, great. Maybe you participated in the Volleyball Canada Combine, in which case you would have had this information documented. But if not, athletes can get these results by participating in a Volleyball Canada Combine that's perhaps coming up, or an OVA jump off event, which will be discussed later. And there will be more information on those specific events that I mentioned, the Combine or the jump off event, in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned for more information on that being promoted on our social media, website, that sort of thing. So the other thing that I just wanted to highlight here is each event is $50 in cost. So that will be the identification fee for athletes to purchase in order to gain access to these different activities to be identified. So this is GMTM, and I'm really excited to start seeing athlete applications in here, even beginning, I guess, in the middle of next week, if athletes are able to upload and complete their application as early as then. As I mentioned earlier, the deadline to complete your application is February 20th. So make sure you begin recording yourself on court and looking out for more information on physical testing that will be coming soon. So at this point, I'm finished talking about the ID process. Unless LP or Angie have something else to add, we can move to questions.
Great job, Lauren. I just want to clarify something. The cost, it says purchase everywhere, but the $50 will unlock everything. Mm-hmm. So it's paid one time. Also just go down, please, for 1 second. I just want to clarify something for those people who are here. And please, if you happen to have this discussion with other parents, you can tell them that you were on the call, so you know this. Okay, just go up a bit, just so, yeah, right there. So it is possible if you want to apply, let's say, just for beach, Team Ontario, but you don't have video of you playing on the beach, you may upload an indoor volleyball video in the beach athlete video section. Okay, so that's just a nuance I wanted to make. So again, what Lauren said is very important. She said, if you want to apply for beach, you will complete the beach video section, but it doesn't mean you need to have video of you on sand. Okay.
If I can just add to that, I would encourage athletes that haven't played beach to even apply for beach. Just the way the system in Canada is that not everybody has the opportunity. So the identification is definitely why we have the movement videos. And our job is to support you in developing in the sport, so you don't have to be on par just yet.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Angie. And Lauren.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. It's included in there, but I should have talked about it. That's awesome. Okay. So I think we can move on to questions.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch.
Okay. Okay. So I'll read to you, LP. Is that cool?
Sure.
Great. So some of these questions we did go over. LP, can you review what the age range for regional program is? Is it just 2008 athletes or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it in the town hall for a regional program, but yes, the regional program is going to be for 14U age athletes, so athletes born in 2008. So that will be it. So it's going to be just for 2008.
Great. Are 2005 athletes competing with 2003 athletes?
Yes and no. So yes, in the sense that I don't know if you can pull. Is it easy for you to pull that GMTM page again, Lauren, with the age groups? Maybe we can clarify that using that, you know, with the 3 programs.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about the pathway earlier, and obviously you look at this here and you don't really see the programs that we talked about in the pathway. But we know that most of the athletes that will be part of Team Ontario Red and Black on the indoor side, for example, are going to be athletes that are born in 2007, 2006, and 2005. We know that. We saw it. We showed you on the pathway on the slide there. This is going to be the bulk of the athletes. So it's done that way so that you know, athletes born in these age groups are going to be evaluated. We're going to be able to, you know, look at them, comparing them with other athletes their age and all that stuff. It's going to make it a lot more simple on our end to go through all the identification process. And then, you know, we know that for the Canada Games indoor, for example, 2003s and 2004s are going to be most likely the athletes that will be part of the Canada Games. So again, they're kind of grouped together. Now, does that mean that you're not able to switch buckets? Not at all, right? Like Lauren said earlier, you apply based on your age group, but you will be selected based on your skill and developmental level into the program that best fits your profile. And so it is possible that you are a 2005 athlete and you are an amazing athlete, very athletic and extremely skilled, and you just happen to be the best middle blocker in the province until 19U, right? So you are better than all 2004 and 2003 athletes, and therefore you are selected as part of the Canada Games indoor group. It is possible. So it is possible that as a 2005, you are competing with a 2003 player if you fit the profile of a Canada Games athlete, but most likely you will not be competing with a 2003 athlete because you will probably be in competition with other 2005 athletes for a spot on Team Black, for example, right? So that's why like there's not like it's not like a yes or no answer. There's like a perhaps maybe answer, but most likely not. So hopefully it clarifies other questions from other people as well. In terms of how we're going to be looking at athletes. Like just also to give you an example, 14 new players are going to apply to this regional program bucket right there. But we already know that it is very likely that there will be a handful of athletes who are identified as part of that group that will be actually invited to the Team Ontario Red program. This happens every year. So we know to look out for those players, and we know that it will likely happen. So there will be some crossovers, obviously, between age groups, because at the end of the day, we're selecting two programs based on skill level, but we're approaching our process to evaluate athletes based on age group.
Awesome. Okay. In what month does Tall Maples happen, and how do you apply? So Tall Maples will also happen in July, and they will go through the same identification process as the other Team Ontario Beach and Indoor programs through GMTM. LP, for the Indoor Canada Summer Games, 2003s are now in university. Are they still eligible for this program?
Yeah, absolutely. So they are. No, that's a great question, because I just realized we forgot to mention that. But for all of you 2003s out there, or if you know someone who's in university who's not currently playing for a club team in Ontario in the OVA, you will need a membership in order to participate in the selection process. So you will need a tryout membership, okay? Because you're trying out for the Canada Games group. So please, if you are a university player, or if you're not a member of the OVA, you will go to MRS. I can't remember, mrs.ontariovolleyball.org, I think, something like that. Or I don't know why I'm forgetting this email, this URL, but Lauren's going to get it for us. And you go to MRS, you sign up as a trial player, and then if you are selected to the program, you will have to get a full membership at that point, because every player who is part of Team Ontario needs to be a full competitive player with us.
Awesome. Okay, great. Will physical testing events be held outside of the GTA?
Most likely, yes. I don't want to be too cryptic, but keep an eye open for stuff happening. I just don't want to confirm things before they're confirmed. So, but I would say 90% yes. All this information will be posted on our website and on our social media. So if you do see an event like a Volleyball Canada Combine or a jump off or a some sort of physical testing led by Team Ontario event, and you can't participate, sign up, go and get your physical testing, and you'll be able to use that data for your application.
Yes, and that'll be for athletes who weren't able to attend the Combine.
Yeah, and if you can't attend, so the thing that's going to happen this year is there will be opportunities throughout, like some of the competitions we're going to host, such as OCs, for example, at the end of the year, where you'll get a chance to do some physical testing. And if you do, then you'll have that data, to apply. And but if you don't, because you've done testing with your club or something, and you like those numbers, then you can use those as well.
Perfect. Can you define the movement video? Angie, do you want to answer that question?
The movement video is actually demonstrated by LP. It actually just, it's a series of activities. It's pretty clear instructions. There's LP demonstrating it. It includes just throwing something and seeing how an athlete throws, a couple of like full jumps, a couple of bounding, just different activities just to kind of give the opportunity for an athlete to demonstrate their physical literacy is what that is. it's very short. LP is like 1 minute, I think. Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah, it's very fast. If you were part of the identification process last year, it's the same movement video.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually found that last year. I mean, we that was kind of our creative solution to last year. But for the beach program, we definitely found that it was really helpful. And as athletes came out, it was all athletes that were super athletic. I think that just the way that, you know, the indoor structure works was tough for beach to kind of see athletes and what they're capable of in terms of their literacy versus their skill. So we want to kind of stick to this process for that piece.
Awesome. Okay, I can answer this next question. Once the application is completed and submitted, can it be edited? Yes. So that's a great question. So say you have footage and you have everything already ready to go for your application and you submit that next Wednesday. That's awesome. This being said, if you have a game in the beginning of January and you really liked how you played there or wanted to include some highlights from that weekend in your highlight video and you want to change something, you can definitely do that. You can edit your profile at any point, even past the deadline. This being said, that if you do edit it past the deadline, there's no guarantee that our Team Ontario coaches will see that information. So on February 21st, our Team Ontario coaches will have access to all the applications and they might start evaluating on that day. So if you upload something on even the 22nd and you were first to be evaluated on the 21st, they won't see that information. So you can upload whenever you would like to your profile. However, just know that if it's past February 20th, or if you're changing anything past that day, there is a risk that they might not see the edits that you make. So that's why we set that deadline for February 20th, but feel free to edit from now until then. LP, can you apply for the 14U regional program if you're not born that year, but you're playing up?
Tentative answer is no. Again, we're going to confirm the details of that program, but we usually stick to the age group for this program. So I don't think it's going to change for this year.
Perfect. Okay. So we'll save some of these regional questions until that town hall. Can you review what age the Tall Maples program is for?
Yeah, I mean, there's no real age. Typically, it's 13 to 16. We find that if you're older than 16, then, you know, training with 13-year-olds sometimes is just not the best mix, but it is possible that it works well for you. So 13 to 16, most athletes are usually around the 14 and 15 age group, but we'll have the occasional 13 and 16 as well in there. If you're tall, just click that box and then see what happens. Like
exactly.
just so you know, also if you click Tall Maples in your athlete information form, you will never be selected for Tall Maples before another program. If that makes sense, right? Like if you're a good fit for another program, that's where you're going first. And then once these programs are full, and we look at the tall athletes that are left who didn't find a spot, perhaps because they were a little behind in skills compared to other athletes, that's when we invite you to Tall Maples.
So we have some questions here about Canada Summer Games. First one is, how do athletes born in 2005 register for Canada Summer Games? Mm-hmm. And the next one is still based on the selection process, if they actually have to click that they're interested in Canada Summer Games, or if we'll just select athletes to that pool.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren, but you don't get to click whether you're interested in Canada Summer Games, right?
You're right.
Okay, so you just complete your application and you test really good when you go do your physical testing, and you put together a very good highlight video, as well as you put a game where you play well, and our coaches, our evaluators, will be looking for the top 2005s players in order to consider them for the tryout. So like Lauren said earlier, we will have a final tryout on invites only for Canada Games at some point early May. And there will be some 2005 players invited to that tryout. I can't tell you how many, I don't know who, but just from experience, there's always some of those younger players who make the cut to get invited to this final tryout. And so you don't have to do anything specific other than put your best application forward, and our coaches will do the rest.
Perfect. And I don't think we mentioned this before, but how many athletes will be selected for the Canada Games group?
It will be between 14 and 16 for the training camp, but only 12 can participate in the Canada Games. So 12 athletes will be selected for the Canada Games, 2 to 4 players as alternates, and for the camp.
Perfect. Some more regional questions that we can cover on the town hall for the regional program. For 2022-2023 Team Ontario Elite, will athletes who are part of the Canada Games group also participate in the Elite program the following year if they're not part of Team O Black? Yes.
Yes, as long as you're still in high school.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question about the jump off. Is registration open for that yet? I think the plan is for next week. There's more information potentially being released on that event, LP, in terms of registration dates.
I would really encourage. I don't actually know if next week's webinar is for the general public or if it's just for clubs. But if it's not, then I just told all of you. So if you can find the link for next Monday's webinar, join us, and there will be some information there about an event that may or may not include a jump off. So yeah, when we have information, it will be posted everywhere. It will be hard to miss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what about our friends in Thunder Bay or Northern Ontario? What do you recommend for them in this application process? Or identification, I guess. Sorry.
Yeah, the exact same. That is the beauty of this year and this process, is that you have the same shot, whether you're in Thunder Bay or in Toronto. You can come up with all of the sections. So you can come up with your introduction video, your your highlight video, and your game video as well, and also your physical testing results. You can get that done in Thunder Bay, and submit all the information, and we'll see you, and we'll be able to see you the same way as we see an athlete from Toronto. Right? In the past, it is possible that we would have seen you on video, but then everyone else live, and that could, be an advantage, I guess, if you're seen live, perhaps. So everybody's on the same playing field. So, yeah.
Awesome. And just to kind of go off of that as well, there's a couple of showcases, I guess, coming up or have just happened where measurements were taken, and those can still be used in your GMTM physical testing if you got some of those taken.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about that, Lauren, is that yes, absolutely, you can use that data. The thing with the Volleyball Canada Combine, jump off, and the physical testing events that we will host is that once you do the testing with us, your data will be put into a national database, and you will get an account in an app called Kinduct, in which you will be able to see your scores. And not only that, but you will also be able to see how you compare with the other athletes your age from across the country. Right now, Volleyball Canada is setting up these events across the country. So that's definitely an added value piece that you may want to consider. So yes, maybe you've done your testing at one of those showcases, but maybe you want your scores to be in that national database, so that because perhaps you want to be part of a national team one day and you want Volleyball Canada to have access to your physical testing data, and you also want to see how you fare compared to other athletes your age in Alberta or BC, well, then you would participate in one of those events. That's the only way you will have your physical testing data entered in that database. So yeah, that's the answer.
Perfect. LP, do you have an estimate on the cost for joining a Team Ontario Red or Black indoor program this summer?
Next summer, it's going to be, so the other reasons why we did the programs the way we did was to keep the cost to around what it was in the past to participate in Team Ontario. So for Team Red and Team Black, obviously we will post the exact cost once we've secured a facility and we actually know exactly what our costs are going to be, but you can expect somewhere for the 12 days, somewhere around 1,500. So 15 to 1,800, I think, for room and board, food, and all the training and the matches and the competition and the live stream and the banquet and everything. Again, it's going to be that like ballpark.
Just confirming that selection to Team O will only be based on videos and not live games as previous identification processes.
So that's a great question. And the answer to this question is almost. So the process for Team Ontario Red and Black will be first to look at everyone's online virtual applications. From there, and this is something that we do, by the way, every single year because of the number of applications. When we used to go to events starting in January, we would look at everybody, and then we would kind of shortlist, I guess, some athletes, and then watch them again at Ontario Championships, and from there make the final selection. And we're going to use a similar process. So we are going to look at everybody's virtual application, kind of do a short list of players, and then at Ontario Championships, get our eyes on the athletes that we want to see to confirm our selection process, our selection, I guess, for Team Ontario Red and Black. So you will see Team Ontario coaches at Ontario Championship, and that's going to be because we are finalizing those selections.
Another clarification here. Will coaches look at any of the profiles prior to February 20th if they are already submitted in advance? So the answer is no. Our Team O coaches will wait till after February 20th, just to make sure in case any athletes want to edit their profile. We'll wait until that day for the coaches to start looking at the applications.
It is possible, I guess, that someone may take a look just to kind of see, what athletes are posting and stuff. But yes, the official evaluations will start on the 20th. Yeah.
Perfect. Is the oldest age group that can join Tall Maples born in 2006 this year?
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. I think I have all the questions here. I've skipped over some regional program questions just because we will cover those in the new year in our town hall. Unless you see any other questions that I missed, LP, but I don't think so.
No, I think you did a good job. Seemed like you covered everything. So, I mean, obviously this is a new process, so it is normal that you have some questions, and when you have them, please reach out to any one of us. Maybe don't reach Angie for the next couple of weeks. She'll be pretty busy because she's traveling to Thailand for World Championships. She's not playing, but
No, just in case you thought I was playing. And thank you if you did.
So yeah, no, but definitely reach out. We'll answer your questions as best we can. And yeah, we're super excited to get these programs coming back. So we'll work with you. I know a lot of you guys may be new to the program, so yes, reach out to us. We'll help you through the process.
I just have one thing, LP.
Go
If I
ahead.
can just plug that we just put out for our drop-in training sessions today. So for any athletes who want to get in the sand, actually, maybe I'll post the link in the chat there. There are limited spots just based on the fact that there's only 3 courts here at the center. So if you're interested, definitely sign up, register, and but the most important thing is fill out, reserve your practices that you'd like. You can change them as you wish later, but reserve them to make sure that you got it. That's all.
So just to clarify, Angie, this is for young athletes who want to get coached.
Yes, sorry about that.
Team Ontario Beach athletes on like the weekend.
Yes, I should give a lot more information, shouldn't I? So basically we've got drop-in sessions. These are on the beach. They're coached by TMO coaches, and they happen mainly Friday night and Sunday mornings. The way it works is that you can buy a package of 20, package of 12. You can buy single sessions, and we've got like a system where you could just reserve your practices, and it gives a chance for you to be flexible within your indoor commitments right now. So
Awesome. Thanks, Angie. Great plug.
shameless.
So question just about the recording and where to register on Monday. All of this will be on our Team Ontario volleyball.org website. The recording, the link to GMTM, all of that will be updated then. And Angie provided the link for the beach drop-in. So that's that.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Lauren. Thanks,
Thank
Angie.
you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.